when 19-year-old Emma Rodriguez finds a mysterious wedding invitation in a coat pocket at the dress shop where she works. She makes a split-second decision that changes everything. What starts as one girl's desperate attempt to escape her small world becomes a dangerous game of love, betrayal, and impossible choices. Hello, beautiful souls. Tonight's story will take you on a journey where hearts are tested and destinies collide. The journey starts now. The cream-colored envelope trembled in Emma Rodriguez's calloused hands as fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the cramped dress shop. Golden script shimmered across expensive paper. Mr. and Mrs. Blackstone Whitmore wedding reception. Tonight, Grand Aurora Hotel? What's got you shaking like a leaf, Mia? Rose's weathered voice cut through the silence as she looked up from steaming a vintage gown. Someone left this in a coat pocket. Emma's dark eyes traced the elegant lettering. It's for some rich people's wedding. At 19, Emma felt the weight of her world pressing down like wet concrete. 2 years since her father's accident? 2 years of 12-hour shifts at Seamstress Dreams, watching her college dreams slip away, stitch by stitch. Her younger brother Diego needed new shoes. Her mother worked double shifts at the diner, and Emma read romance novels from the library and pretended she didn't ache for something more. That evening, she stood before her cracked bedroom. Mirrored in her only good dress, simple black cotton she'd transformed with delicate beading around the neckline. Her reflection stared back. Olive skin, waves of dark hair, eyes that held too much sadness for someone barely out of high school. "Where you going all fancy?" Diego asked from her doorway, curiosity lighting his 12-year-old face. "Just out." The lie tasted bitter. She'd never lied to her family before. The bus to the Grand Aurora took 45 minutes through a city that grew shinier with each mile. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across marble floors. Guests moved like movie stars in designer gowns and tailored suits. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. Name. The reception woman's manicured fingers hovered over her tablet. Emma Rodriguez. Her voice barely held steady. A frown, scrolling. "I don't see you listed." Panic flashed hot through Emma's chest. "I'm with the Whitmore party." "Ah, here we are." Table 12. The ballroom doors opened to reveal paradise. White orchids cascaded from gold-trimmed ceilings. A string quartet's melody floated through air thick with expensive perfume and champagne bubbles. Emma found her corner table, just as the lights dimmed. The bride was ethereal Celeste Whitmore, floating down the aisle in silken diamonds, her blonde hair crowned with pearls. The groom waited with tears streaming down his face. But it was the best man who stole Emma's breath. Tall and lean, with sharp cheekbones, dark hair, and eyes like green glass. He stood with quiet confidence, observing everything with the intensity of a predator. When their gazes met across the crowded room, electricity shot through Emma's veins. He held her stare for one heartbeat, 2, 3. Then the officiant called for rings, and the spell shattered. During dinner, Emma picked at courses that cost more than her weekly paycheck. Delicate salmon with herbs she couldn't pronounce. Chocolate dessert that melted like silk on her tongue. She nodded at conversations about trust funds and European vacations, offering vague responses about working in fashion. As the band began playing, Emma decided to escape before her luck ran out. She gathered her small purse, heart racing with the thrill of her successful deception. Leaving so soon? The deep voice behind her sent shivers down her spine. She turned to find the best man standing there, green eyes twinkling with dangerous amusement. "I should get home," she managed. "I'm Adrian Blackstone." He extended his hand. "I don't believe we've met." Emma's world tilted. Adrian Blackstone, the groom's brother. She was talking to wedding royalty while crashing their celebration. "Emma Rodriguez," she whispered, shaking his warm, strong hand. "Would you care to dance, Emma Rodriguez?" Before she could protest, he was leading her onto the polished floor. The band played something slow and romantic as Adrian's arms came around her with practiced ease. He moved with the grace of someone born to luxury, and Emma fought not to think about how perfectly she fit against him. "You're not what I expected," he murmured, his breath warm against her ear. "What do you mean?" "Most of Celeste's friends are more interested in my bank account than having a real conversation," Heat flooded Emma's cheeks. If only he knew the truth. I'm not really friends with the bride, she admitted quietly. I found the invitation. I was curious. I know I shouldn't be here. Adrian stopped dancing, studying her face with those intense eyes. Emma braced for security to drag her away. Instead, he threw back his head and laughed, adric and genuine, drawing stares from nearby couples. You crashed my brother's wedding? Delight sparkled in his voice. Emma nodded miserably. I'm sorry. I'll leave right now. Don't you dare. He pulled her closer as the music swelled. You're the most interesting person I've met all evening. What made you brave enough to walk into a room full of strangers? Emma considered her answer carefully. The truth felt too raw, too desperate. I wanted to see what it felt like to live in a fairy tale. Just for one night, something shifted in Adrian's expression, becoming softer and infinitely more dangerous. And how does it feel? Like magic, she whispered. They danced through 3 more songs, talking about dreams and fears and the weight of expectations. Adrian spoke vaguely about his work in sustainable technology, while Emma found herself opening up about fashion design, her family, her terror that she'd never escape her small world. Dreams have a way of coming true when you least expect them, Adrian said as the band announced their final song. Not dreams like mine. I'm just a girl who works in a dress shop. People like me don't get fairy tale endings. Adrian stopped dancing. His hands cupped her face gently, green eyes burning with intensity that made her knees weak. Emma Rodriguez, he said, voice low and urgent. You are absolutely Adrian. A sharp voice cut through the music like a blade. There you are. They turned to see Celeste Whitmore approaching. Her wedding dress now stained with red wine, her perfect face twisted with fury. Behind her stalked a man Emma didn't recognize Yolder, with cold eyes and an expensive suit. We need to talk, Celeste hissed, her gaze sliding over Emma with obvious disdain. Now, the man stepped closer, and Emma noticed the security badge clipped to his jacket. Is there a problem here, Mr. Blackstone? Emma's blood turned to ice as security closed in. The fairy tale was crumbling around her like burning paper. Actually, yes. Celeste's voice dripped venom. This girl crashed our wedding. She doesn't belong here. Adrian's jaw tightened. Celeste, I know exactly what this is. The bride's eyes glittered with malice. Some little nobody trying to hook a rich man. It's pathetic. Heat flooded Emma's face. She tried to step away, but Adrian's hand tightened on her waist. You're out of line, he said quietly, but his voice carried danger. Am I? Celeste laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. Marcus, run a background check on Miss Rodriguez here. I guarantee you'll find she's exactly what she appears. To be a fortune hunter, the security chief pulled out his phone. Already on it, Mrs. Sterling, Emma's world spun. They were going to expose everything her family's poverty, her desperate situation, the humiliation of crashing their perfect evening. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of these people who saw her as nothing more than an embarrassment. I should go, she whispered. You're not going anywhere, Adrian said firmly. Celeste, apologize. Now, apologize. The bride's voice rose an octave. To her? Adrian, she lied her way in here. She's probably after your money. Just like what? Adrian's voice went deadly quiet. Celeste's mouth snapped shut, but her eyes still blazed with fury. The security chief looked up from his phone, frowning. This is interesting, Marcus said. Emma Rodriguez, 19, works at Seamstress Dreams on 5th Street. Father disabled in a construction accident. Family's been struggling financially ever since. Each word hit Emma like a physical blow. Her deepest shame laid bare for everyone to dissect. There, Celeste said triumphantly. A gold digger, just as I suspected. Enough. Adrian's voice could have cut steel. He turned to Emma, and for a terrifying moment she thought she saw pity in his green eyes. That would be worse than disgust. Emma, look at me. She forced herself to meet his gaze, chin lifted despite her burning cheeks. Is what he said true? The question hung between them like a blade. Emma could lie, make up some story about being there with friends. But she'd already lied enough for one night. Yes, she said quietly. Everything he said is true. I found the invitation in a coat pocket at the shop where I work. I knew I didn't belong here. But I came anyway because I was tired of dreaming about a different life instead of living. 1. Silence stretched like a taut wire. The string quartet had stopped playing. Other guests were beginning to notice the commotion. Then Adrian did something that shocked everyone. He smiled. Marcus, thank you for that information. Very thorough. He turned to his sister-in-law. Celeste, you're absolutely right. Emma is exactly what she appears to be. Emma's heart shattered. Of course he agreed with them. How could she have been so naive? She's brave, Adrian continued. She's honest when honesty costs her everything. And she's more real than anyone else in this room full of people wearing masks, made of money and social status. Celeste's face went white with rage. Adrian, you can't be serious. I'm dead serious. He took Emma's hand, fingers intertwining with hers. Emma, would you like to get out of here? She stared at him in confusion. You still want to leave with me? More than anything, this is insane, Celeste hissed. Adrian, think about what you're doing. Your reputation, the family name, can burn for all I care. His eyes never left Emma's face. What do you say? Ready to turn this fairy tale into something real? Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. This had to be some kind of elaborate joke. Rich men didn't choose girls like her. Not in real life. But the way he looked at her like she was something precious and rare. Yes, she whispered. Adrian's smile could have powered the entire hotel. He turned to the security chief. Marcus, Mrs. Rodriguez is my guest for the remainder of the evening. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. As they walked toward the exit, Emma heard Celeste's voice behind them, shrill with disbelief. You're making a mistake, Adrian. She's not one of us. She'll never be one of us. Adrian paused at the ballroom doors, looking back at his sister-in-law with cold amusement. Good, he said simply. The elevator ride down felt surreal. Emma stared at their reflection in the polished Dorcher simple black dress next to his expensive tuxedo. Her work-roughened hands clasped in his soft ones. Why? She asked as they descended. Why what? Why are you doing this? Celeste was right about everything. I am just a girl from a dress shop. I did crash your brother's wedding. I don't have money or connections or anything to offer someone like you. Adrian was quiet for so long. Emma thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw with something she couldn't identify. 3 years ago, I was engaged to a woman named Victoria Ashford. Old money, perfect pedigree, everything my family wanted. The elevator dinged softly as they reached the lobby. She was beautiful, intelligent, accomplished, and she was sleeping with my business partner while planning our wedding. Emma's breath caught. The pain in his voice was like a physical thing. When I confronted her, do you know what she said? He turned to face her fully. She said she loved me, but she loved his portfolio more. That marrying me was smart, but loving him felt real. The elevator doors opened, but neither of them moved. I've spent 3 years surrounded by people who see dollar signs when they look at me, who calculate their next move before they say hello. And then tonight, this beautiful girl crashes my brother's wedding just because she wanted to see what magic felt like. His thumb traced across her knuckles, sending sparks up her arm. You didn't know who I was when you let me lead you onto that dance floor. You just said yes because you wanted to dance, Adrian, she whispered, his name feeling foreign and perfect on her tongue. I know this is crazy. I know we just met. But Emma, I haven't felt this alive in years. The lobby buzzed with late-night energy around them, guests returning from dinners and shows, the city's wealthy elite moving through their glittering world. And in the middle of it all, Emma Rodriguez stood in a borrowed moment of magic with a man who made her believe in fairy tales again. So what happens now? She asked. Adrian's smile held promises and dangers in equal measure. Now we write our own story. He led her toward the hotel's exit, and Emma felt like Cinderella walking toward midnight. except instead of a pumpkin carriage waiting to take her back to reality, there was a sleek black car with a driver who nodded respectfully at Adrian. "Where are we going?" she asked as he held the door open for her. "Somewhere we can talk without my family's drama following us around." Emma slid into leather seats softer than anything she'd ever touched. As the car pulled away from the hotel, she caught sight of her reflection in the window-wide eyes. Flushed cheeks, hair slightly mussed from dancing. She looked like a girl in love. The thought terrified her almost as much as it thrilled her. "Emma," Adrian said quietly, and something in his tone made her turn to face him. "There's something else you should know before we go any further." Her stomach dropped. Here, it weighs to catch, the revelation that would send her tumbling back to earth. "What is it?" Adrian's green eyes held shadows she hadn't noticed before. "My engagement to Victoria didn't end just because she cheated. It ended because I found out she was working with someone to steal proprietary technology from my company. Someone close to me." The car turned onto a quiet street lined with expensive townhouses. Emma's pulse quickened. "Who?" Adrian's jaw clenched, and when he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "My brother Noah." Emma's world tilted as the black car glided through streets lined with mansions that looked like museums. "Your brother." Adrian's fingers tightened around hers. The technology was worth $50 million on the black market. Clean energy patents that could change everything. His voice was granite and broken glass. "I trusted him with my life's work." The car stopped in front of a brownstone that screamed old money-heavy covered walls. Wrought iron gates, windows that gleamed like watching eyes. Emma felt increasingly out of place as Adrian led her up marble steps to a door that probably cost more than her family's annual rent. Inside the townhouse was a museum of wealth crystal decanters, catching lamplight. Oil paintings in gold frames, furniture that looked like it belonged behind velvet ropes. Emma, perched on the edge of a leather sofa that probably cost more than her car. "You want to know the worst part?" Adrian poured amber liquid from a cut crystal decanter, his movements sharp with controlled anger. "I covered for him. Told the board it was corporate espionage from outside. Let them think Victoria acted alone." "Why?" Emma accepted the glass he offered, though she'd never tasted whiskey in her life. "Because he's my little brother." The pain in Adrian's voice made her chest ache. "Because our parents died when he was 16, and I raised him? Because I thought family meant something." Emma sipped the whiskey and nearly choked. It burned like liquid fire, but she forced it down. "What happened to the patents?" "Gone, sold to a competitor who buried them to protect their own investments." Adrian drank deeply. 3 years of research. Millions in development costs. All because I trusted the wrong people. She set down her glass with trembling fingers. "And tonight, you brought me to your brother's wedding. I had to come. Had to play the part of supportive older brother while watching, and marry the woman who helped destroy everything I'd built." His green eyes found hers across the room. "Until this beautiful girl crashed the party and reminded me what it felt like to trust someone." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "Adrian, you don't really know me? What if you're another Victoria?" He crossed to sit beside her, close enough that she could smell his collagen, something expensive and masculine that made her dizzy. "What if you're playing some long game to get close to me?" "Are you?" she whispered. "No." The word was fierce, immediate. "But you should know what you're getting into. My family has more money than small countries. My company is worth billions. And everyone every entence something from me." Emma's mouth went dry. "Billions," she. "Worked 40-hour weeks for money that wouldn't even register as a rounding error in his world." "I don't want your money," she said quietly. "I know." His thumb traced her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "That's why I can't let you walk away." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Adrian glanced at the screen and cursed under his breath. "What is it?" "Text from Noah." He showed her the message. "We need to talk, now, about your new girlfriend." Emma's blood ran cold. "How does he know about me?" "Celeste." Adrian's voice held fury barely held in check. "She probably called him the second we left." Another buzz. This time, a photo-grainy security footage of Emma at the hotel reception desk, clearly nervous as she gave her fake name. The third message made Emma's stomach drop. Interesting girl. Shame if something happened to her family's dress shop. Is that a threat? Emma's voice cracked. Adrian's face went deadly pale. Stay here. Don't answer the door for anyone. Where are you going? To remind my brother what happens when he threatens innocent people. Emma grabbed his arm as he headed for the door. Adrian, wait. This is my fault. If I hadn't crashed the wedding, this is not your fault. He cupped her face in his hands, his eyes blazing with protective fury. Emma, I need you to understand something. My brother isn't the man I thought he was. He's dangerous in ways I'm only beginning to understand. Then don't go alone. I have to. There are things between Noah and me that need to be settled. His kiss was gentle and desperate. Tasting of whiskey and promises, I'll be back. I swear. After he left, Emma paced the elegant townhouse like a caged animal. Every shadow seemed threatening. Every sound from the street made her jump. She tried calling her mother but got voicemail. Diego didn't answer either. Fear clawed at her chest. What had she gotten her family into? An hour passed. Then two. Emma's imagination conjured increasingly horrific scenarios until she couldn't breathe. She was reaching for her phone to call the police when she heard a key in the lock. Adrian stumbled through the door, his tuxedo torn and blood trickling from a cut above his eye. Oh my God. Emma rushed to him. What happened? Noah had friends waiting. He winced as she touched the cut. Big friends with expensive suits and no sense of humor? We need to call the police. The police can't help us. Adrian caught her hands, stilling them. Emma, there's something else. Something I should have told you before. Her stomach dropped. What, the technology Noah stole? It wasn't just valuable to competitors. It was valuable to some very dangerous people who don't like their business interrupted. Emma sank onto the sofa, her legs suddenly unable to hold her weight. What kind of dangerous people? The kind who buy and sell information that governments prefer to keep secret? Adrian sat beside her heavily. The kind who make people disappear when they become inconvenient? You're saying your brother is involved with criminals? I'm saying my brother owes criminals $50 million. And now he knows about you. Emma's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against every instinct screaming at her not to answer, she picked up. Hello, Emma. The voice was smooth, cultured, terrifying in its politeness. We haven't been properly introduced. My name is Vincent Torino. Adrian went rigid beside her, face draining of color. I understand you've become close with Mr. Blackstone, the voice continued. How romantic. Young love is such a beautiful thing. What do you want? Emma's voice came out steadier than she felt. A conversation. Tomorrow, noon, Central Park. The Angel Fountain. Come alone, Emma. Don't, Adrian started, but the voice cut him off. Mr. Blackstone, I'd advise you not to interfere. The girl's safety depends on it. The line went dead. Emma stared at the phone, her hands shaking. Who was that? Vincent Torino. He runs the organization Noah was working with. Adrian's voice was barely a whisper. Emma, these people don't negotiate. They don't forgive. And they sure as hell don't let witnesses walk away. Then what do we do? Adrian was quiet for a long moment, staring into the fire crackling in his marble fireplace. When he finally spoke, his voice held a terrible resignation. We give them what they want, which is... He met her eyes, and Emma saw something die in their green depths. Me. Emma stared at Adrian in horror. What do you mean give them you? Torino doesn't want money. He wants control. Adrian moved to the window, pulling back heavy curtains to scan the dark street. My company develops technology that certain governments would kill for. If he owns me, he owns that access. We'll go to the FBI. They can protect you. With what evidence? Noah covered his tracks perfectly, and Torino's people have been laundering money through legitimate businesses for decades. Adrian's. Reflection in the window looked like a ghost. They're untouchable. Emma stood on shaking legs. There has to be another way. There is. Adrian turned to face her, and the expression in his eyes made her blood freeze. You don't go to that meeting tomorrow, I have to. He'll hurt my family if I don't. Emma, listen to me. Adrian crossed the room in 3 strides, gripping her shoulders. These people will kill you the moment you're no longer useful. The only reason you're still breathing is because they think you matter to me, don't I? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Something flickered across Adrian's face. Pain, longing, something deeper than desire. You matter more than you should. More than is safe for either of us. Emma's phone buzzed again. Text message from an unknown number. Your little brother has such pretty eyes. Would hate for something to happen to them. Attached was a photo of Diego walking home from school, unaware he was being watched. Emma's knees buckled. Adrian caught her before she could fall. They have surveillance on your family, he said grimly. Which means they've been planning this longer than we thought. I have to go to that meeting. Emma's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. I won't let them hurt Diego then. I'm going with you, he said. Come. Alone. I don't care what he said. Adrian's jaw was granite. You're not walking into that alone. Emma spent the night curled in Adrian's arms on his impossibly soft bed. Neither of them sleeping. She memorized the feel of his heartbeat against her cheek, the way his fingers tangled in her hair, the warmth of his breath against her forehead. When dawn broke gray and cold over the city, reality crashed back down on them. I need to check on my family before we go, Emma said as they dressed. Adrian had given her clothes from what he called his emergency. Wardrobe designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Emma made in 3 months. The drive to her neighborhood took them from Adrian's world of marble and crystal into hers of cracked sidewalks and barred windows. She could see the culture shock in his eyes as they pulled up to her family's small apartment building. Stay in the car, Emma said. I'll be quick. But when she opened the apartment door, her mother was waiting with red eyes and a crumpled piece of paper in her trembling hands. Mia, what have you done? Her mother's voice was broken with fear. Men came here last night. They said terrible things about you and some rich boy. Emma took the paper with numb fingers. It was a contract of sorts, typed on expensive letterhead. Terms of agreement was printed at the top in elegant font. The terms were simple and devastating. Emma would deliver Adrian Blackstone to the Central Park meeting. In exchange, her family would be left alone. If she warned Adrian or failed to comply, Diego would disappear. At the bottom was a signature she recognized from newspapers and magazine covers. Noah Sterling. Adrian's brother had signed her family's death warrant. Emma. Her mother's voice seemed to come from very far away. What does this mean? Emma's hands shook as she folded the paper. Everything she thought she knew crumbled around her. The fairy tale evening. The romantic rescue. The promise of something real. All of it had been a trap. It means I made a mistake, Mama. Her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. A very big mistake. She kissed her mother's forehead and walked back to the car where Adrian waited. Scrolling through emails on his phone like this was just another Tuesday morning. Everything okay? He asked as she slid into the passenger seat. Emma looked at the man who had made her believe in magic. The man who had chosen her over his family's approval. The man whose own brother had orchestrated her family's destruction to get to him. Everything's fine, she lied. Central Park was busy with the lunch crowd, joggers, tourists, business people grabbing quick breaks from their corporate towers. Emma and Adrian found the Angel Fountain easily, its bronze wings spread in eternal flight above the crystal-clear water. Vincent Torino was already waiting. He was younger than Emma had expected, maybe 40, with salt and pepper hair and a face that belonged on magazine covers. His suit probably cost more than her family's rent. He looked like someone who belonged at charity galas, not orchestrating kidnappings. Miss Rodriguez. Mr. Blackstone. His smile was warm and terrible. Thank you for coming. 2 men in expensive coats flanked him at a respectful distance. To anyone watching, they looked like successful businessmen having a casual meeting. What do you want, Torino? Adrian's voice could have frozen the fountain. Straight to business. I respect that. Vincent checked his watch gold, understated, probably worth more than a car. I want you to come work for me, Mr. Blackstone. Exclusive contract. Your considerable talents applied to projects of my choosing, and if I refuse? Vincent's eyes slid to Emma. Well, that would be unfortunate for several people, including young Diego Rodriguez, who should be getting out of school right about now. Adrian's hand found Emma's, squeezing tight. You bastard. I'm a businessman, Mr. Blackstone, nothing more, nothing less. Vincent pulled a tablet from his jacket pocket. The contract is quite generous. $50 million annually, plus benefits. All I ask in return is your complete cooperation. Emma stared at the screen. It was a standard employment agreement, except for the clause that essentially made Adrian a slave to whatever Vincent wanted him to create. And Emma's family? Adrian asked. Will be left completely alone, provided you both honor the terms of our arrangement. Emma felt the contract in her pocket like a burning weight. She thought of Diego's bright smile, her mother's worn hands, the tiny apartment that was the only home they'd ever known. She thought of Adrian's trust, the way he'd chosen her over his family's approval, the promises in his green eyes. I'll do it, Adrian said quietly. Excellent. Vincent smiled like a shark. Just sign here, and we can all go about our lives. Adrian reached for the stylus. Emma's heart shattered into a million pieces. This was the moment. The choice that would define everything that came after. She could stay silent. Let Adrian sacrifice himself for her family's safety. Live with the knowledge that she'd destroyed the first good thing that had ever happened to her. Or she could make the other choice. The one that would save him and damn her. Wait, Emma said, pulling the crumpled contract from her pocket. There's something you should see. Adrian stared at the paper in her hands, confusion flickering across his face. Then his eyes focused on the signature at the bottom, and Emma watched his world implode. Noah signed this. His voice was barely a whisper. Last night. After you left to confront him, Emma's words felt like glass in her throat. I'm supposed to deliver you to Torino. If I don't, they'll hurt my family. The silence that followed was the sound of trust dying. Adrian looked at her like she'd driven a knife through his chest. You were working with them from the beginning? No. The word came out as a sob. Adrian, I swear to you the wedding. The innocent act. All of it was planned. I crashed that wedding because I wanted one night of magic. Everything I told you was true. Then why? His voice broke on the question. Why are you giving me this contract now? Emma met his eyes one last time, memorizing the green depths that had made her believe in fairy tales. Because I love you, she whispered. And sometimes, love means letting go. She turned to Vincent, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. I want to make a deal. Vincent Torino's eyebrows rose with genuine interest. What kind of deal, Miss Rodriguez? Emma felt Adrian's gaze burning into her, but she couldn't look at him. If she saw the pain in his eyes, her resolve would crumble. I know things, she said quietly. About Noah Sterling's operation, about how he's been funneling information through his wife's family connections, about the Swiss accounts, about everything. It was a complete bluff. Emma knew nothing except what Adrian had told her, but she prayed her voice sounded confident. Vincent's smile sharpened. Interesting. And what would you want in exchange for this information? Adrian walks away. Clean. No contracts, no obligations, no threats against his family or friends. Emma's hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. And my family stays safe. Emma, no. Adrian stepped forward, understanding dawning in his eyes. Don't do this. And in return, Vincent asked, ignoring Adrian completely. I work for you instead. Emma forced herself to meet the older man's calculating gaze. Whatever you wanted from Adrian's mind, I can provide. I've been studying his research for months. I understand the technology better than anyone except him. Another lie. But Vincent didn't need to know that. You're a dress shop girl, Vincent said dismissively. I'm a dress shop girl who graduated valedictorian from high school with a 4.0 GPA in advanced Mathematics and engineering. Emma's voice grew stronger with each word. A dress shop girl who only works retail because her family couldn't afford college. A dress shop girl who's been teaching herself quantum physics from library books because she had nothing else to lose. This part, at least, was true. Every word of it. Vincent studied her with new interest. Fascinating. And you believe you can replicate Mr. Blackstone's work? I believe I can improve on it. Adrian grabbed her arm. Emma, stop. You have no idea what you're saying. These people will own you. They'll use you until you break and then dispose of you. She finally met his eyes. The anguish there nearly destroyed her resolve. Some things are worth breaking for. Not this. Not for me. Yes, she whispered. Especially for you. Vincent clapped his hands together, the sound echoing across the water. How wonderfully romantic. However, Miss Rodriguez, I'm afraid your offer, while touching, is insufficient. Emma's heart sank. What do you mean? I mean, Noah Sterling has made certain promises regarding Mr. Blackstone's cooperation. Promises backed by substantial financial incentives. Vincent's smile was reptilian. I can't simply release him because his girlfriend has a hero complex. Then what do you want? Both of you. Vincent's words fell like stones into still water. Mr. Blackstone creates the technology. Miss Rodriguez ensures his continued cooperation. A matched set, if you will. No, Adrian said flatly. Absolutely not. Then I'm afraid young Diego will have a very unfortunate accident on his way home from school today. Emma closed her eyes, feeling the weight of impossible choices crushing down on her. In her mind, she saw Diego's bright smile, her mother's worried face, Adrian's broken trust. When she opened her eyes again, her decision was made. I accept, she said clearly. Emma, no? Adrian's voice was raw with desperation. But I have one condition, she continued, ignoring Adrian's plea. Noah Sterling. I want him. Vincent's eyes glittered with amusement. Want him how? I want him to pay for what he did. To his brother. To my family. To everyone he's hurt. Emma's voice grew cold as winter steel. You're a businessman, Mr. Torino. I'm sure you understand the concept of eliminating liability. You're asking me to kill Noah Sterling? I'm asking you to solve a problem that's caused nothing but complications for your operation. Vincent was quiet for a long moment, studying Emma like she was a chess piece. He was considering moving. Finally, he laughed a sound like breaking glass. Miss Rodriguez, I believe I've severely underestimated you. He pulled out his phone and typed a quick message. Done. Noah Sterling will be eliminated within the hour. Adrian stared at Emma in horror. You just ordered the death of my brother. I just saved both our lives. Emma's voice was empty of everything except cold calculation. Noah was going to betray you again, Adrian. He was going to keep betraying you until you were both dead. He was still my brother. And Diego is mine. The words hung between them like a chasm neither could cross. Emma saw the exact moment Adrian realized what she'd become. What loving him had cost her. The contracts, Vincent prompted. Adrian signed first, his movements mechanical and defeated. Emma signed second, her hands steady as a surgeon's. Excellent. Vincent tucked the tablets away. You'll both be relocated to a secure facility where you can work undisturbed. Think of it as a very exclusive research retreat. What about Emma's family? Adrian asked quietly. Will receive a substantial monthly stipend for their daughter's important work. They'll be well cared for, I assure you. Emma felt a single tear slide down her cheek. Can I see them? Before we go? I'm afraid not. Clean breaks are always best in these situations. Vincent gestured to his men, who moved closer with practiced efficiency. Not threatening exactly, but unmistakably present. As they walked toward the park's exit, Adrian caught Emma's hand one last time. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. For my brother, for my family, for bringing this into your life. Emma stopped walking, forcing the group to pause. She turned to face Adrian fully, memorizing every line of his beautiful, broken face. I'm not sorry, she said quietly. For any of it. Not for crashing that wedding. Not for dancing with you. Not for falling in love with you in the span of one impossible night. Emma, she pressed her fingers to his lips, silencing him. You asked me what it felt like to live in a fairy tale. Do you remember what I said? Like magic, it still does. She smiled through her tears. Even knowing how it ends. Even knowing the price. It was worth it, Adrian. You were worth it. Vincent cleared his throat impatiently. Touching as this is, we have a schedule to keep. Emma nodded and started walking again. She didn't look back at the fountain where an angel spread bronze wings over clear water. She didn't look back at the park where children played and couples walked hand in hand through their own fairy tales. She looked forward, toward whatever came next. Toward the work that would keep Adrian alive. Toward the sacrifice that would keep her family safe. Toward the love that had cost her everything, and somehow, impossibly, felt like it had given her everything too. 6 months later, Emma Rodriguez published her first patent under a false name. Clean energy technology that would revolutionize the world, the kind of breakthrough that made governments nervous and corporations desperate. Adrian Blackstone was listed as a co-inventor, though neither of them spoke anymore except when their work required it. The facility where they lived was luxurious and comfortable and completely inescapable. Emma's family received their monthly payments and believed she was working overseas for a prestigious engineering firm. Diego had started taking advanced mathematics courses and dreamed of becoming a scientist like his brilliant sister. Vincent Torino was very pleased with his acquisition, and sometimes, late at night, when the facility was quiet and the guards weren't watching, Emma would stand at her window and remember what it felt like to dance with a man who made her believe in magic. The fairy tale had ended, but the love remained. And that, Emma thought, as she returned to her desk to continue changing the world one equation at a time, would have to be enough. The end.